pull the safety out. Jesus. The basic materials you're going to need for this project is some lengths of PVC or electrical conduit, an arrow or a 6mm tube that fits BBs quite well. I'm using an arrow because I can't buy a 6mm tube, but the hole fits the BBs quite well. You're also going to need a little rubber tyre valve. These cost less than $1, and a fire extinguisher. Now before we start, we're going to make a couple of modifications to the fire extinguisher. You just want to release all the gas out until this little PSI gauge here reads 0. Then you can just simply undo the top, take it out, should reveal this tube. You just want to untwist the tube, make sure this part doesn't untwist out, clean it all out, clean the inside out, leave the tube to the side, and then screw this back in. Okay, so the next step is to drill a hole in your fire extinguisher slightly larger than the top part of your valve. As you can see, it fits in to about that point. Now what we're going to do is just poke it in through here and up through here, and then put a hose clamp around it to hold it in place. Okay, so as you can see, I've got this thin piece of wire which I've bent into this shape. You can also use a coat hanger wire if you don't have any of this wire lying around. I'm just going to slip my little valve over the top like this, poke it in through the hole. Okay, now we're just going to thread that through the front of the fire extinguisher and up through the hole like this. Now pull it up through as hard as you can, pull it nice and tight. Now put a hose clamp over the top like that and tighten up the hose clamp as tight as you can. Now that the hose clamp is nice and tight on the valve, we're just going to cut off the excess with a pair of side cutters. Now simply screw the top back on. This now allows you to refill it with a black pump. As you can see, the bike pump is just clipped onto the valve we installed, and it can then release plain oxygen out the front. As you can see on the little dial, it's only halfway filled up, and now I'm going to show you how much air comes out of it, only halfway filled up. That's a lot of air and it's a lot of recoil. You probably only need to fill it up halfway to get very good power out of it. Okay guys, if you're going to use an arrow for your tube that fits the BBs down it, you're going to have to make some modifications. You're going to have to slice off the fletchings with a Stanley knife, and then you want to cut off the tip with a hacksaw, and you also want to cut off the knock with a hacksaw as well. So it's just a straight tube that can fit BBs down it. Okay, next you want to take a drinking bottle. You want one with just a screw-on cap like this, and then you're just going to drill a hole in the bottom of it, the same diameter as this arrow, and then stick the arrow in halfway and put some hot glue around it to make it airtight. Okay, so the next thing you want to do is cut yourself a length of this quite large PVC, and then you want to cut the end of a bottle off just like I've done here, and then drill a hole the same size as your arrow in the lid of that bottle. Now what you want to do is simply take the bottle and actually crush it into the end of your pipe. It may be quite hard to do this. Okay. So you want to push it in enough so that you can take this bottle with the arrow that we hot glued in, push it through all the way like this, and you want to have the tip of the arrow just sticking out the end of the bottle that you crushed in. And then you just want to screw the lid on and thread the arrow through the hole you drilled in the lid. And then just tape this part on. Tape this bottle to the piece of PVC. As you can see, we've taped the bottle to the piece of PVC, and the tip of the arrow is just sticking out there, and that's going to act as your main barrel. And this part is going to be where it holds all your BBs. Okay, so the next step is to cut 6 lengths of PVC. That's about the same size as the little barrel device we've created there. And now I'm just going to show you how to tape them on. So what I've just gone and done is put elastic bands around all the pieces of PVC we cut, and I've simply held them on with that. And so you can actually position them quite easily so that they're nice and even, and then you just got to wrap all over the elastic bands and tape to hold them nice and steady. Okay guys, so I've wrapped some tape around the elastic bands. It's holding there quite well, but I also added some little bits of hot glue where it's touching the PVC just to hold it extra strong. Okay, so the next step is to take this tube that we pulled out from the center of the fire extinguisher before and connect that from the nozzle into the back of the bottle that holds the ammunition. I'm just going to drill a hole in the bottle and hot glue the tube in, and then I'm going to hot glue it to the nozzle of the fire extinguisher. Alright, so as you can see, I hot glued that little tube to the nozzle of the fire extinguisher and into the bottle. Right, it's all airtight because of the hot glue, as you can see just there. And then I've just got thick duct tape and wrapped all the little barrels to the top of the fire extinguisher so it's nice and solid now. And at this point we can just go out and test fire it to see if it works. Guys, so the first step is we need to pump it up. I'm only going to pump it up to the half pressure of what it originally was in the fire extinguisher, just to get an idea if this works. The next step is to fill it up with your airsoft pellets. I'm actually not using airsoft pellets. I'm using these very cheap beads. They're available to buy anywhere in the world, so people in Australia can buy these instead of getting actual BB pellets. I'm just going to unscrew a drink bottle lid and fill it up with all the pellets. You want it about halfway filled up. Okay, so the target we've got today is a terribly drawn zombie head on a piece of paper, and we're going to see if we can absolutely destroy it. Let's see what we can do. Alright, let's have a look. That worked pretty well. Absolutely destroyed that zombie head. That fired out about 500 rounds just then. Unbelievable. Okay, so first we're just going to base coat it in primer. This is just plain grey primer. I'm just going to spray it with this matte black paint. Okay guys, so all I've done now is just attached a bit of rope so I can sling it over my shoulder, and it looks pretty damn good. We've done a good job making this. It's painted black. It just looks awesome. Alright guys, so now we've just got some cans set up, and let's see what we can do. Pull the safety out. Jesus! Holy shit! Okay guys, so what we got there is a piece of particle board. It doesn't have any laminate on it, so it's just a particle board. And now we're just going to see what sort of damage 150 rounds per second can do to this piece of particle board.